This is part 10 of Blazor tutorial. In this video, we'll understand what are RESTful APIs and how they work. If you already know what REST is, you may skip this video. The word REST stands for Representational State Transfer. In simple terms, it's a pattern for creating an API. Well, what is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface. Abbreviations are okay, but what is the use of a REST API? Well, in simple terms, a REST API allows applications to interact with each other and exchange data. For example, let's say you're building a mobile application or a web application. In that application, you want to display weather data like temperature, humidity, wind speed, etc. The problem is your application does not have this weather data. It is provided by a third-party REST API service. Your application sends the city name for which you want weather data. The third-party REST API sends weather data like temperature, humidity, wind speed, etc. back to your application. Now, let's take a look at another example. Let's say we are building an employee portal. Again, the employee data is provided to our application by a REST API. So here, the employee portal is the client, and the REST API that provides the employee data is the server. The communication between the client and the server happens over HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. If you want a more secure option, you can also use HTTPS. In this example, the client is a web application, and keep in mind REST is based on open standards, so REST APIs can be consumed by a broad range of clients like web browsers, mobile applications, desktop applications, IoTs, that is Internet of Things, etc. When building a REST API, we have to follow a set of rules. These are commonly called as REST constraints. First, we have client-server constraint. In any application that involves REST API, there are at least two players, client and the server. Client sends a request and the server sends a response. In our case, client is the employee portal which sends a request for employee data, and the server, the REST API, responds with employee data. This separation of concerns supports the independent evolution of the client-side logic and server-side logic. Next, we have Stateless Constraint. According to this constraint, the communication between the client and the server must be stateless between requests. This means we should not store anything on the server related to the client. The request from the client should contain all the required information for the server to be able to process that client request. This ensures that each request can be treated independently by the server. Cacheable constraint. Some data provided by the server, like list of products or list of departments in a company, does not change that often. This constraint says that let the client know how long this data is good for, so the client does not have to come back to the server for that data over and over again. Finally, uniform interface. As the name implies, this constraint defines the interface between the client and the server. This constraint helps us understand how a REST API actually works. First, let me clarify two technical terms here, resource and HTTP verb. In the context of a REST API, a resource is a data entity like product, employee, customer, order, etc. And these are the common HTTP verbs. Now let's see how these two are related to each other and work together. For example, a REST API that provides employee data makes the list of employees available at an URI that might look like this. The protocol that is used here is HTTP. We can also use HTTPS if we want to be a bit more secure. PresumeTech.com is the domain. The path/API in the URL indicates that this is an API. This is optional, and it is just a convention that most people follow. With this convention, just by looking at the URL, we can say that this is a REST API URL. Finally, /employees is the endpoint at which we have the resource, that is, list of employees in this case. If you have another resource like a product, for example, then the list of products might be available at an URI that might look like this. So the point that I'm trying to make is each resource is identified by a specific URI, that is Uniform Resource Identifier. For example, the list of employees are available at this URI. Similarly, the list of products are available at this URI. Along with the URI, we also need to send an HTTP verb to the server, and here are the common HTTP verbs. It is this HTTP verb that tells the API what to do with the resource. For example, if we take the resource employee, these are the Crud operations we can perform on it, that is, create a new employee or read, update, or delete an existing employee. And to perform these Crud operations, we have the corresponding HTTP verbs. So the combination of the URI and the HTTP verb that is sent with each request tells the server, that is the REST API, what to do with the resource. For example, if we want to retrieve the list of all employees, then we use this URI/API/employees along with the HTTP verb get. Instead of the complete list, if we want a specific employee details, in this case employee with ID equals 1, then we use this URI. Notice in the URI we have the ID of the employee, which is 1. Again, we use the HTTP verb get. To create a new employee, we use this URI along with the HTTP verb post. And to update an existing employee details, we use this URI. Notice again, in the URI, we have the ID of the employee whose details we want to update. And the HTTP verb can either be put or patch. The difference is put updates the entire object, that is first name, last name, date of birth, gender, etc. of an employee. Basically, all the properties of the object are updated. Patch is used when you want to do a partial update, that is only a subset of the properties, maybe just first name and gender of an employee object. Finally, to delete, we use this URI along with the HTTP verb delete. Obviously, in the URI, we pass the ID of the employee whose record we want to delete. On my local machine, I have a REST API available at this URI that provides employee data. At the moment, we're using a browser, and I issued a GET request to this endpoint /API/employees, and we see the full list of employees. To test and play with this RESTful API, let's use this tool called Postman. It's a free tool, and you can download this from their website, postman.com. To launch a new request window, click on the plus sign here. We want to issue a GET request, select that from the drop-down list, and here is the URI, and then click send. Notice in the response body, we have the complete list of employees in JSON format, and the status code is 200 OK. Now, instead of the complete list, if we want to retrieve a specific employee details, in this case, let's retrieve just this employee details whose ID is 1. So in the URI, we pass the ID, and again, we issue a GET request. So when we click send, there we go. In the response body, we have just that specific employee details. Now, let's create a new employee. To create a new employee, we use the HTTP verb post, and here is the URI. We also need to send the employee object to the server, and we do that using the request body, and the data is going to be in JSON format. So select JSON here, and let's change the ID to something unique, 101, and let's change the name of the employee to XYZ, and then click send. Request completed. Notice the status code is 201 created. Now let's retrieve this newly created employee details. So in the URI, we specify the ID of the employee, which is 101, and instead of post, we use get. There we go. We have our new employee, and the status code is 200 OK. Now let's delete this employee. To delete, again in the URI, we need to specify the ID of the employee, and instead of using get, we use the HTTP verb delete. Status code is 200 OK. The delete operation completed successfully. So if we now try to get this employee, we get nothing back, and the status code is 404 not found. In our next few videos, we'll discuss how to build this RESTful API from scratch using ASP.NET Core MVC. If you already know how to do this, you may skip these next few videos. After the API is complete, we'll then discuss how to consume it from a Blazor application. That's it in this video. Thank you for listening.
One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two.